Hello and thank you for visiting my channel. I've got a tutorial for a fun and fairly simple Christmas tree shaped cake today. I made a few decorations from fondant using a small bell and Christmas star shaped cutters from my shop and created a topper using the stars by sandwiching a toothpick between them held together by some water. I added some sparkle with some silver luster dust and allowed these to dry and harden overnight. I add a little buttercream to my cake board before stacking to help anchor the cake to the board, and evenly spread buttercream between each of my 3 layers. I usually add my top layer upside down to help create a sharp edge, but since we're carving this into a tree cone shape, that wasn't necessary. Very carefully using a large, sharp serrated knife, I start by cutting little wedges off the top to give it a cone shape, continuing to taper it by cutting slices off the middle as well. If you've seen any of my videos on how I make Barbie or princess doll cakes, this is pretty much the same method I use for those as well. I smushed together a little bit of the cake scraps to sculpt a little cone to add to the top of the cake for a nice point. The crumb coat here, which is the first layer of buttercream you add to a cake, and even the carved cake shape itself does not need to be perfect or even very neat and tidy. It can be very rough because the piped branches will cover everything and give it more fullness. You can also use 3 different cake layer sizes to cut down on some of the carving work, like a small, medium, large, a 4-inch, 5-inch, 6-inch, for example. But for this tutorial, I chose to use the same size cake layers and carve them, as most people just have 1 or 2 sizes of cake pans. To pipe the tree branches, I'm going to use a size 4B tip, which is a medium open star tip. I made 3 different shades of green buttercream, a regular medium green, a lighter green, and a little bit deeper green, and I'm adding them to the bag by spreading each of them along the side of the bag so they all show up together. Piping the branches was very similar to piping just a regular drop star. Squeeze a little bit of buttercream to attach it to the cake and then gradually release as you pull outward, allowing it to end up elongated like this. I started making a border of these along the bottom, piping over any surface area and trying to cover as many gaps as I could, and then started the next border and repeated this over the whole cake. A cake like this makes a really fun centerpiece for a table. Oftentimes cakes have a front and a back. Typically designer decorations is kind of focused on one point, but this particular cake, it's the same all around the cake, and it's fun to look at from every direction. This takes a fair amount of buttercream, so I did have to refill my bag a few times. Once I reached the top, I added a few short branches to finish the cone shape, and that's it. I have 2 sprinkle mixes by Simply Sucre that I thought would be great for this cake. One is more traditional red and green colors called Grinchmas. The other is more non-traditional pinks, greens called Pink Christmas. I just couldn't decide between the 2, so I actually ended up using sprinkles from both mixes. I used pink, green, dark green, teal, and silver as the ornaments. The larger ball-shaped sprinkles, similar to sixlets, you can place with your fingers, but the very tiny silver ones and red ones, I used a tweezer so my fingers wouldn't bump the buttercream as I placed the ornaments. And lastly, I added my silver bells, and of course, the Christmas star at the top of the tree went right in with the toothpick. I like this cake concept idea. You could do lots of different colors, styles, designs. You could make a garland. Let me know in the comments what you would add to yours. And thanks so much for watching.